Common Interpretation, The Preamble, by Irving Kamarinsky and Michael Stock Paulson. The Preamble of the U.S. Constitution, the document's famous first 52 words, introduces everything that is to follow in the Constitution's 7 articles and 27 amendments. It proclaims who is adopting this Constitution: we, the people of the United States. It describes why it is being adopted, the purposes behind the enactment of American Charter for Government, and it describes what is being adopted: this Constitution, a single authority written text to serve as a fundamental law of the land. Written constitutionalism was a distinctly American innovation, and one that the framing generation considers the nation's greatest contribution to the science of government. The word preamble, while accurate, does not quite capture the full importance of this provision. Preamble might be taken, we think wrongly, to imply that these words are merely an opening rhetorical flourish or frill without meaningful effect. To be sure, preamble usefully conveys the idea that this provision does not itself confer or delineate powers, government, or rights of citizens. Those are set forth in the substantive articles and amendments that follow in the main body of the Constitution texts. It was well understood at the time of enactment that preambles in legal documents were not themselves substantive provisions and thus should not be read to contradict, expand, or contract documents' substantive terms. But that does not mean that the Constitution's preamble lacks its own legal force. Quite the contrary. Its provision of the document declares enactment the provisions that follow. Indeed, the preamble has sometimes been termed the enacting clause of the Constitution, in that it declares the fact of adoption of the Constitution when sufficient states have ratified it, we, the people of the United States, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Importantly, the preamble declares who is enacting this Constitution: the people of the United States. The document is a collective enactment of all U.S. citizens. The Constitution is owned, so to speak, by the people, not by the government or any branch thereof. We, the people, are the stewards of the U.S. Constitution and remain ultimately responsible for its continued existence and its faithful interpretation. It sometimes observes that the language "we the people of the United States" was inserted as the Constitutional Convention by the Committee of Style, which chose those words rather than "we the people of the States of," followed by a listing of the 13 states. For the simple practical reason, it was unclear how many states would actually ratify the proposed new Constitution. Article 7 declared that the Constitution would come into effect once 9 of 13 states had ratified it. As it happened, 2 states, North Carolina and Rhode Island, did not ratify until after George Washington had been inaugurated as the first president under the Constitution. The committee style thus could not safely choose to list all the states in the preamble, so they settled on the language of both "we the people of the United States." Nonetheless, the language was consciously chosen, regardless its origins in practical considerations or as a matter of style. The language actually chosen has important substantive consequences. we, the people of the United States, strongly support the idea that the Constitution is one for the unified nation rather than a treaty of separate sovereign states. That is, of course, had it been the arrangement under the Articles of Confederation, the document, the Constitution, were designed to replace. The ideal of nationhood is then confirmed by the first reason recited in the preamble for adopting the new Constitution, to form a more perfect union. On the eve of the Civil War, President Abraham Lincoln invoked these words in support of the prominence of the Union on the Constitution, under the Constitution, and the unlawfulness of states attempting to secede from that Union. The other purposes for adopting the Constitution recited by the preamble: to establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, embody the aspirations that we, the people, have for our Constitution, and that we expect to flow from the substantive provisions and follow. The stated goal is to create a government that will meet the needs of the people. As noted, the preamble statements of purpose do not themselves grant powers or confer rights. The substantive provisions in the main body of the Constitution do that. There is not, for example, a general government power to do whatever it judges will promote the general welfare. The national government's powers are specified in Article 1 and the other provisions of the Constitution, not the preamble. Congress has never relied on the preamble alone as a basis for a claimed power to enact law, and the Supreme Court has never relied on the preamble as the sole basis for any constitutional decision. Still, the declared purposes for the Constitution can assist in understanding, interpreting, and applying the specific powers listed in the Articles, for the simple reason that the Constitution should be interpreted in a manner that is faithful to its purposes. Finally, the preamble declares that what the people have ordained and established is this Constitution, referring, obviously enough, to the written document that the preamble introduces. That language is repeated in the Supreme Clause of Article 6, which declares that this Constitution should be the supreme law for the entire nation. The written nature of the Constitution as a single binding text matters and was important to the framing generation. The U.S. Constitution contrasts with the arrangement of nations like Great Britain, whose Constitution is a looser collection of written and unwritten traditions, constituting the established practice over time. America has a written Constitution, not an unwritten one. The boundaries of what may be said and done in the name of the Constitution are marked by the words, phrases, and structure of the document itself. To be sure, there are disputes over what those words mean and how they are to be applied, but the enterprise of written constitutionalism is, at its core, the faithful interpretation and application of a written document adopted by the people as a supreme law, this Constitution of the United States of America.